What's a Pixel launch without your customary Pixel versus iPhone camera battle? And this year particularly, the camera upgrades on the Pixel 7 Pro and the iPhone 14 Pro, easily two of the best in the business, are absolutely bonkers. So if you don't know me yet, I'm Arshad, you're watching Trakin Tech English. Let's begin this battle. Jumping right into the pixel bin samples on the 48 megapixel camera of the iPhone 14 Pro and the 50 megapixel one on the Pixel 7 Pro. Both of these shoot extremely sharp pictures. These are some of the most detailed pictures you can get from a phone today, especially when you look at the 100% crop of the picture. You can barely tell the difference. But a lot of the merit goes to the tastefully employed sharpening by the algorithm of both these brands. Having said that, a larger sensor like the 1-inch one on the Xiaomi 12S Ultra will capture more natural looking sharp details. So yeah, that's something that I would love on, one of these phones. Even the color science is nearly accurate except for one problem with the Pixel, and I'll come to that in a bit. Now if you have come this far, we'd love your support, so don't forget to hit the red subscribe button and the bell icon right next to it to get notified whenever we put out an awesome new tech video. Also, the YouTube algorithm values engagement, so if you like the video, give us a thumbs up, that'd be great. Now when you look at the samples, iPhone's pictures are generally a tad more vibrant because it captures a wider color gamut. This is a minor technical win, one that won't make too much of a difference to most folks out there. What will, however, make a difference is that the Pixel 7 Pro tends to push the reds in all of the warm colors of the scene. This can be easily rectified in post. Therefore, when it comes to detailed retention and accurate color science, I think that both of these are, equally matched. But where the Pixel takes the lead is in HDR. In medium dynamic range scenes, both are almost equally matched. Although when you have a very bright background, the Pixel does a fantastic job of ensuring that the foreground is not underexposed. It pulls in way more details from the shadows compared to the iPhone. Also, there's a peculiar problem with the iPhone where it will always botch up the white balance of the background when you shoot any bright white phone display or any white subject at all. When you're shooting friends and family, it is pretty difficult to pick between the two again. Except for that red lift in Pixel's skin tones, both are nearly identical in sharpness and contrast. However, thanks to Pixel's real tone technology, it does better with darker skin tones. Against the light, iPhone has a tendency to blow out the brightest part of the scene at the top right corner. But when you look at it, Pixel suffers from artifacting in the darker portions of the image, like my colleague's black pant out here causing a green aberration. Also, the iPhone's vibrancy helps with the exposure on the face. In portraits, both the iPhone and Pixel are equally matched, but iPhone's edge detection is a little wonky. In cropped in 2x portraits, the iPhone 14 Pro is sharper and technically better. Overall, I feel that the iPhone 14 Pro has a slight edge when you're shooting friends and family. Makes a lot of sense considering the fact that, in DxOMark's testing, the iPhone 14 Pro has the highest score when it comes to the friends and family section of their review. Now, the red tint problem on the Pixel 7 Pro persists even in low light night side samples. I was curious as to why this was happening, so I asked my friend Pratik from 91 Mobiles. He's reviewing the Pixel 7 Pro for that platform, and he also mentioned that he was facing the same problem. Anyway, moving on, Pixel's night side is definitely superior. In certain scenes, it exposes it so well that you start wondering why Apple's camera engineers are so reluctant to brighten up the scene. Their dogged persistence to recreate a scene as it is causes a lot of extreme black crush too. Now, as for the processing, iPhone tends to keep the noise in favor of the details, where Pixel smoothens it out slightly in post. Now, moving on to ultrawides, there's absolutely nothing separating the two, especially when it comes to the details. None at all. Color science consistency is also superb on both, as you would expect from an iPhone and a Pixel. But HDR, Pixel takes an easy win, and that's something that you would have probably guessed, right? Now, the ultrawides on these phones can also now be used to capture macros, and both the phones are equally capable of capturing sharp close-ups. I think both are very well matched except for the color science difference, and that's something that we have seen in the main camera as well. Now, finally coming to the low-light ultrawides, Pixel is sharper and better overall with no black crush issue. The only problem with the tuning is the average colors, which the iPhone almost always gets right. But if you see our comparison of the Pixel's ultrawide versus the Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra's ultrawide, the result is slightly different. So why don't you go check that out in a link that pops up right now. Now, moving on to telephotos, the 2x capture on both are equally sharp as expected, considering both are cropping into the larger full-res primary camera. At 3x though, Super res zoom on Pixel tries its best to ensure that you get close to optical performance, but the real 3x telephoto on the iPhone offers slightly more natural details, which you won't really be able to tell if you don't pixel peep. At 5x, Pixel's telephoto beats the iPhone easily, and the iPhone doesn't have any super res AI trickery to fall back on either. At 15x, which is the furthest that you can get with the iPhone. Both are almost equally matched. But of course, the Pixel can go many steps further, straight up to 30x, which of course could come in handy as well. Also, I really like the zoom slider on the Pixel 7 Pro's new camera app. You get precise haptic feedback, vibration for 2x, 3x, 5x, 10x, so on and so forth. Alright, moving on to low light telephoto shots. At 2x, you get brighter exposure, sharper textures, and lower noise levels on the Pixel 7 Pro. At 3x and 5x, while the iPhone has a lower exposure, there's more noise as well, but it is sharper than the Pixel. At 10x, the Pixel 7 Pro easily beats the iPhone 14 Pro. So what does this tell us about the zooming capabilities of both these phones? It really does depend on the situation. Sometimes you just want to crop in 3x, where the iPhone will come in handy. The other times you want to crop in 5x, 10x, and that's when the Pixel will come in handy. Now, technically, since the Pixel can zoom further, even up to 30x, and do it without too much loss of details, I think that the Pixel 7 Pro wins the telephoto round. Now, talking about selfies are processed completely differently on both the phones. Pixel goes for an over-contrasty look as opposed to the more natural reproduction of the iPhone. iPhone's also a tad bit sharper, but iPhone's HDR woes continue to haunt it. While it is sharper than the Pixel, the 7 Pro Selfie will be more usable for social media sharing because it has exposed the sky much better than the iPhone. Also, the portrait edge detection is slightly better on the Pixel too. I think Pixel's multi-stack processing with software is just superior compared to the other brands. But you know what, I'm just being pedantic out here because I do also like the iPhone 14 Pro selfie portraits. Also, when it comes to shooting selfies in artificial light, or if you are in a low light situation, then the iPhone 14 Pro easily beats the Pixel. Alright, moving on to videography. Finally, the iPhone 14 Pro captures cleaner 4K 60fps videos and more accurate colors as well. Pixel, on the other hand, captures warmer videos, and you can sometimes see some noise in the shadows too. This despite capturing a higher bitrate video by default. It's all about the optimization that's done on the iPhone, but the Pixel is definitely way better at audio recording. This is a 4K video recording on the Pixel 7 Pro and the iPhone 14 Pro. This is a 4K video recording on the Pixel 7 Pro and the iPhone 14 Pro. The same is true for low-light video capture at 4K 60fps. The iPhone wins. It doesn't hunt for focus as much as the Pixel. The exposure is pretty good too, and it isn't as noisy as the Pixel's footage. Now, moving on to ultra-wide angle 4K 60fps shots, the situation is pretty similar here too. iPhone is better whether you're shooting in daylight or in low light, except for, of course, audio recording, which is still not that great. While Pixel does offer better HDR capabilities using the front camera for video recording, especially if the background is too bright, iPhone's sharpness, brilliance, sound recording, and colors are technically better. Now let's shoot some 4K 60fps video using the front camera. In low-light selfie videos, what I noticed is that in a bid to brighten up the scene and bring out more details, Pixel adds way more noise than you can fix in post. So yeah, the iPhone wins when it comes to the front camera video recording as well. Now, if you're wondering why I haven't spoken about the standard stabilization on both, that's because standard stabilization is pretty good and pretty comparable on both the phones. But there's a new action mode on the iPhone that lets you shoot at 2.8K res and 60fps and creates gimbal-like stabilization. But you have a similar active mode on the Pixel, which tops out at Full HD 30fps. Stabilization is very, very good on both, but the iPhone does it at higher resolution and frame rates, so it's obviously better. Now, cinematic blur is a feature that Google has announced with the Pixel 7 Pro. It's in its very early stages, so I am going to be slightly lenient on it as of now. But since we're evaluating it, it is currently no match for what the iPhone achieves with the cinematic mode. I mean, now you can even shoot with the iPhone 14 Pro at 4K 30fps. The seamless switching between the focus and the clean cutout looks so bloody good. But let's give the Pixel some more time to catch up. The only new camera feature left to talk about is the unblur option on the Pixel 7 Pro. It has been implemented really well on this phone. This feature cuts out ghosting from any picture that you might have shot with the phone or any photo from the Photos app, even, stuff from the past. But yes, be prepared to lose out on some fine details when, Google employs its software trickery. You know what? The Pixel 7 Pro versus iPhone 14 Pro was a much closer battle than the Galaxy S22 Ultra comparison that I did. Except for the clear lead that iPhone has in videography, there's very little separating the two when it comes to photography. And that's probably where the problem lies, because there's nothing for the fanboys of each of these brands to clutch on to. because there are pros and cons on each side of the spectrum. So for me, it's almost a tie. But if someone asked me at gunpoint, Eshad, which would you pick between the two? I would probably side with the iPhone 14 Pro, primarily because videography is something that I do on a regular basis and probably almost every single day. What matters to you? Photography, videography, or which phone do you prefer? Let me know in the comment section below. Until next time, this is Eshad signing off. Keep tracking and stay safe.